Very good morning here. Welcome. You are on to Kaftan Television. Wow. It is 9 o'clock. It's Friday. We're 2 days into the month of May already. Super stuff. Super going. May is so fast. It's so fast. It even caught me unawares. I didn't even know we were timely and ready. But we are here for you. Welcome to the press this morning. I'm Mikky Attah. And it's the second day of May, so yesterday was May Day. That's what we're going to be focusing on this morning. In fact, all of today's newspapers are also focusing on the same thing. So we're going to be joined in the course of the studio by an erudite lawyer as well as a labor leader. So that comes up in the discussion segment. You want to be a part of that. But right away, though, we're going to do our usual. That's we're going to run you through the weather. Immediately we finish that, we're going to give you the front pages of the newspapers and what the newspapers are saying in their riders and all the other stories. After the break, discussion segment, and then it's your turn. The numbers will be on. You call in. Okay, let me start my weather report this morning from the ancient city of Kano. Kano City this morning is mostly cloudy. It's a cloudy day in Kano with partly cloudy conditions kicking in from now. The wind gusts are very high at 20 kilometers per hour, and the low temperature today is 25 degrees Celsius. Currently it's 27 degrees Celsius and is expected to climb to very high temperatures of 39 degrees Celsius. You'd think that you were in Dubai, my goodness. Okay, from Kano, let's see what the weather is like in Kaduna. Kaduna has dropped 2 degrees Celsius from Kano to 25 degrees Celsius. It's mostly cloudy with a high temperature expected today to hit 35, almost as high as Kano. Actually, partly cloudy conditions will kick in from noon today. The wind gusts are much lower, though, at 13 kilometers per hour. And from Kaduna, we are going to go southward as we look at what the weather is like in Lagos. Lagos this morning is mostly cloudy. In fact, it's expected to rain today in Lagos at 1 o'clock. So if you live in Lagos, if you haven't left your house, take an umbrella. If you've already left your house, be indoors or in the office or wherever you are, remain there at 1 o'clock. Wind gusts are up to 11 kilometers per hour, which isn't very high for today. We have mostly cloudy conditions, like I told you, with low temperatures of 26 to reach up to a high of 32 degrees this morning. Let's see what the weather is like in Benin. Benin is posting 26 degrees as an average temperature this morning with very cloudy conditions. In fact, thunderstorms are going to come in at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Wind gusts are at 10 kilometers per hour, so it's not very windy, but there's going to be a whole lot of thunder and then a storm at 2 o'clock. The high temperature it will reach will only be 31 degrees after a low of 24 in Benin. And our last bus stop today will be the city of Port Harcourt. Port Harcourt is posting 26 degrees. It's cloudy. It's going to rain from 4 to 7 today. So it's going to be 3 hours of heavy rain. Not just heavy rain, thunderstorm. There'll be thunderstorms this evening. So if you're in Port Harcourt, you see it's very cloudy. So what you expect would happen is surely going to happen according to the weather reports here. The high temperature will only hit 32 degrees Celsius after a low of 24. And that's as much as we have on our desk from the weather this beautiful May morning. All right, then let's just take a look at what the newspaper headlines have for us today. I am going to start from the Punch newspapers. Yes, the Punch before us says Labour pushes for tax cut, pension overhaul in fresh 20-point demand. That's talking about May Day. The story on page 2 says here, Tinubu governors pledge better deals for workers as NLC, TUC insist on new demands. We have 4 picture stories there, a beautiful parade, a march past. We have some of the labor leaders, some of the governors. Governors join workers, it says, to celebrate May Day in Lagos, Kaduna, and others. All right, so May Day is the main push of the Punch this morning. Let's look at other stories. Just beside the masthead, we have federal government VOs under fire over 100 billion naira VC, student loan controversy. So the controversy was actually that some of the institutions, higher institutions of learning, were making illegal deductions from students who were applying for the student loan, the federal government loan for students for tertiary institutions, higher education. The institutions turned around and were saying pay sometimes from 20,000 naira, some 4,000 naira, some as high as 60-something thousand naira, out of how much was the loan that they had to pay back. Meanwhile, the deductions are permanent. So now a cry went out, and the media, of course, trust us, we blew it up. So now the federal government is now having an investigation into it, and the vice chancellors of those universities are now under fire. That's a good one. Let these students breathe. Wike Fubara to begin dialogue over Oshoba's mediation. It's on page 30. We're glad some mediation is taking place, because it's been ongoing, and like they say, when two elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers. Electricity subsidy spending balloons to 762 billion naira. It's on page 20. Who is spending what on electricity subsidy? Because our pockets are being plunged with increase in tariffs. And you know what's so funny that the government does and think the citizens don't know is that every time they want more money but don't want to make it sound like they're getting more tariffs, what they do from the substation or some places, they turn up the meter. So now if you bought how many units, maybe if you paid 50,000 naira for so many units, the next time you go, click, you put the 50,000 naira. If that normally lasts you, I'm saying as an example, one day, the next time it's just going to last you like 11 hours. So in the end, then where is the subsidy being paid? Because at the end, we are paying more for less. There's a question to be asked about this electricity subsidy money. If it's going to be like fuel subsidy, then I would say let the same thing happen. All right, let's go and see. Political showdown looms over FBI's Tinubu file release. Remember that the Federal Bureau of Investigation of the United States said they're releasing a file on Tinubu, Nigeria's president, and it will be out today. In fact, it came out overnight. AFDB launches 650 million US dollars yearly economic support for Nigeria. 73 killed, 393 injured in Lagos-Ibadan expressway crashes in 3 months. Very sad to know. That's on pages 4 and 5 of this morning's Punch newspaper. Our final story will be a sports story. It says here, Sports Festival, arrested Ekiti athletes regain freedom. Thank goodness. It's on page 60. Let's go over right away to today's Daily Independent. The Daily Independent is also tracking with the May Day celebration stories. Daily Independent, as its lead headline says, Tinubu says workers' dedication, resilience drive Nigerian economy. Tinubu says that workers' dedication and resilience is the driver of the Nigerian economy. But there are riders to that headline. It goes, Tinubu vows to create jobs, alleviate poverty, grow economy and stability. Federal government restructuring, worsening living conditions, labor laments. Says country's economy is fiscally, monetarily challenged. No improvement in workers' welfare after new minimum wage. Lists why Nigeria's energy sector remains comatose till date. That's all on page 29. There's a picture story, quite a beautiful picture. We have all the labor leaders along with the Minister of State all dressed up gaily in yesterday's Labor Day uniform, which is green and white, reflecting Nigeria's colors. We have the Minister of State, Honorable Onyejioka, Nkiruka Onyejioka, waving. Then you also have the NLC chair, we have the TUC chair, and some other officials smiling gaily on the May Day. This was all at the Eagle Square in Abuja. We'll be bringing you clips of that event in the course of time. Like I told you, we'll also be speaking with a Labour leader who is on his way during African time. Well, we have some other stories here. Okpebolo raises Edo workers' minimum wage to 75,000 naira. There's a 5,000 naira increase. That's on page 7. Rivers NLC shuns celebration and demands Governor Fubara's reinstatement. That's on page 6. So there was nothing celebratory in Rivers State. Rather, it's a demand placed on the federal government. Put Fubara back. Natasha vows not to withdraw sexual harassment suit against Akpabio. You'll find that on page 6 of this morning's Daily Independent. Again, Union tackles Turkish Airlines, prepares for industrial action. That's on page 7. We have here that Nelfund says no funds mismanaged under students' loan. It's on page 29. I wonder why such a good initiative is undergoing so much controversy. Everything to do with money. You will find some sharks ready to bite and swallow the whole thing. Now there's no controversy. Oh, there's controversy. Oh, the institutions themselves. So let me eat small out of it. Then you people go, what's all that? These are very, very sad, ugly reports we have to face. Only federal constitution can tackle insecurity and hardship. That's coming from the Patriots. The writer here says, Tambua Gbenga Daniel to chair National Confab. Hey, another one. To chair National Confab on Constitutional Democracy. We have all these confabs, we have all these reports, and we have, you guessed it, zero implementation. That's the problem. Let me take the last two stories in the Daily Independent this morning. New terrorist group, Mahmuda. A new terrorist group called Mahmuda is springing up in the Middle Belt. My goodness, we haven't finished Boko Haram. We haven't finished Boko Haram to enter into ISWAP. We barely graduate from ISWAP. We now enter into Lakurawa. We haven't escaped Lakurawa. We are now entering into Mahmuda. So where are these security chiefs that are always meeting and re-meeting and meeting, while these ones are morphing into many other dimensions? Just know you're not safe. So you got to be very careful. As you step out of your house, be watchful. SEC uncovers another illegal investment platform and warns Nigerians. So that's talking. Remember that we just escaped from this CDEX. Now there's another platform. The platform is not mentioned on the front cover. I would have loved to mention the name. Tofikon or something. Anyway, what you do is pick up a copy of today's Daily Independent so that you'll be forearmed, and that's to be forewarned, so that you don't go putting in your hard-earned money that is already losing value into one of these schemes that come out seemingly very patent and clear. As a matter of fact, yesterday there was a warning from the same SEC saying that do not put your money into platforms that only have registration from CAC and EFCC. When you see those two, begin to smell a rat. Why did they have to get a paper from the EFCC? So these are some of the things you want to watch out for. What will happen is that in the course of the press, we are going to bring in a financial expert who will now give us a blow-by-blow on what to look out for these scams, I promise. Okay, let me just take the last, okay, that was the last story. Let me just migrate from Daily Independent to today's Blueprint newspapers. Let's see what the front cover has for us today. The Blueprint is leading with Tinubu to Nigerian workers. You're the engine of our economy. You're the secret to nation's growth. It says here, Tinubu to Nigerian workers. You're the engine of our economy. Secret to nation's growth. Here are riders, Akpabio, Abbas, governors, APC, others, hail resilience. Again, we have here, Labour demands 65-year retirement age. And 75,000 new minimum wage in Edo. We also have that picture story, though it's expanded with other labor leaders, different associations, all in a group photograph with the Minister of State, Nkiruka Onyejoka, and they're all posing there with the uniform, as well as most of them with the red cap. Okay, let's go to other stories. Northeast governors urge united front against Boko Haram resurgence. Northeast governors are pointing out to us that even Boko Haram is having a resurgence, which is very true. They've killed so many in Borno State, particularly in Chibok. Chibok has been devastated over the past week, leading even into this weekend, by the same Boko Haram insurgents. Is it that while we're just talking grammar? Chibok, that had been under siege to the extent that 267 girls were captured 11 years ago. 11 years have passed, Chibok is still under siege. Chief of Army Staff is on seat. Chief of Defense Staff is there. Head of Air Force, you are there. Head of, you're all there. Is it that you're not aware that all this we're blowing grammar here, that Chibok in particular and Borno State is under siege by Boko Haram? Now the Northeast governors are saying, it is on the front page of today's Blueprint newspaper, Northeast governors urge united front against Boko Haram resurgence. Please, our security chiefs, Boko Haram is having a resurgence. Please do something about Chibok. Please do something about Chibok. Can we just appeal to you to do something about Chibok in Borno State? Let me bring you the riders before I get carried away. The riders here says, harp on regional cooperation, irrigation, agriculture, SMSEs. Okay, let's continue with other stories in the Blueprint newspaper this morning. The Blueprint has some other stories here saying, at Bishop praises 65th birthday, Dara back Tinubu's second term. Okay, we brought you that report. If you watch all our programs on Kaftan Television, we brought a live report of the birthday celebration, which was more or less like a colloquium. So Archbishop, is not a bishop, he's an archbishop. Archbishop Praise's birthday party was more of a colloquium, where we had our former Speaker of the House of Reps, Dogara, as well as a guest speaker, Dara, and they all spoke in support of the Tinubu administration and also asked for a second term. However, Dogara was a little bit political in his statement. He said he would like to see a situation whereby the works of Tinubu are what will speak for him. Let his work speak for him rather than, mere endorsements. That was what he said at that colloquium. It's on that note, we'll just travel over to the Daily Times this morning and see what the Daily Times has in today's Daily. Okay, the Daily Times is also leading with that labor story. Tinubu departs Abuja today for Katsina. It's on page 2. Commissions projects, meets key stakeholders. There's a beautiful picture story there. It's showing the NUJ, wow, NUJ FCT Council, big ups, here you are, International Workers' Day, beautiful photograph, everybody in their uniform. So that's a picture story on the front page of this morning's Daily Times. We have many other stories here, still on May Day. On top of the masthead, it says here, May Day, Tinubu, Fubara, IGP, First Lady, Grace Ike, Petrowan, felicitate workers with calls for improved conditions of service. In other stories, below the picture story, we have here NEL Fund disburses 44.2 billion loans to over 293,000 students as ICPC launches investigation. So just to disburse this loan, you started pilfering. Now ICPC has been called into it. I don't know when we'll ever be ashamed. It's like, it's reached a point we wonder, do Nigerians have shame, especially those in positions of authority. It's on page 5. Natasha replies Abrakoba, rules out the withdrawal of suit against Akpabio. That's on page 4. Okay, that story, Natasha in the news. People will say, Natasha in the news again. Is it Natasha again? Natasha in the news. Well, let me just give you this news behind the news. It was that Olisa Agbakoba's son was contracted by the Senate President Godswill Akpabio to be his lead counsel in his defense, more or less, in a suit that Natasha said she's going to file for the sexual harassment claim against the Senate President. Now, Olisa Agbakoba now itemized areas where he found some discrepancies, and then said that he wants an out-of-court settlement. You are the one saying there are discrepancies. Who should be asking for an out-of-court settlement? Is it not Natasha? Well, she said no. She said she's not even withdrawing the suit. She's not going for any out-of-court settlement. She's not out for anyone's money. She's tired of playing the games. So that's what the story is this morning. Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan replies Agbakoba, rules out withdrawal of her suit against Akpabio. She's saying, let it go to court. So that's the story. For those who didn't know, we're saying Natasha again. This is what's happening. It's all the details can be found on page 4 of this morning's Daily Times newspaper. With our last story here, UK, Nigeria partner on rising fraud threats. Rising fraud threats. And that's so true with all these scamming, Ponzi schemes and all that kind of a thing. From the Daily Times this morning, let's go over and have a look at the Matrix newspapers. On the front cover of this morning's Matrix newspaper, a banner headline still trending with the May Day celebration, and it captures it this way. Organized labor tables fresh demands before Tinubu. May Day celebration, organized labor tables fresh demands before Tinubu. Here are the riders. Seeks upward review of retirement age to 65 years. Demands reversal of Rivers emergency rule. Withdrawal of tax reform bills. Atiku, Obi take jabs at Tinubu in separate messages. All those details can be found on page 2 with a picture story of the NLC and the TLC. Sokoto State Council is whom's captured here, celebrating the 25th May Day. Celebrating Nigerian workers is how it's captioned. Cross-section of Nigerian workers observing the 2025 International Workers' Day celebration. All right. We have other stories on the Matrix. The only court can decide my case against Akpabio. Senator Natasha fires back at Agbakoba. That story we brought you earlier on, still trending on the front pages of all the dailies. We have it in the Matrix newspaper. It's on page 9. RMAFC seeks review of revenue allocation formula to reflect changing realities. That story is on page 11. Kamala Harris accuses Trump of orchestrating decades-old conservative agenda in fiery post-election speech. Well, you know that in America it's usually the case whereby whoever is, when the results start piling in, by simple calculation, you're able to see who the winner will be, and instantly you put in a telephone call and you congratulate the winner. Then you come out and make a public statement and congratulate the winner, which was done by America's immediate past Vice President Kamala Harris. After that, usually the person then keeps very silent. But in a departure this time, we have here that she's accusing Trump of orchestrating decades-old conservative agenda. Well, that has been a post-election speech, which has just come now, and you might want to find out all the details on what the example she might have given to buttress her point. It's in the Matrix newspaper this morning. So let's go back to more of our Nigerian stories here. Federal government launches probe as controversy mars student loan fund. Very shameful. Here the writer says, alleged deductions by varsities very disturbing, extremely concerning. ICPC backtracks, denies allegation of unaccounted 71.2 billion naira. You'll find those details all on page 3. Akpabio denies ties to convicted INEC officer, says he was a victim of election rigging. The story is on page 2. Find out all the details. We have a story here as well. It says, I've never been heartbroken because I've never fallen in love. Wow. Falz reveals that he has never fallen in love, so he's never been heartbroken. That's the way to go, brother. The story is on page 20 if you want to find out. As you know, Falz is one of Nigeria's leading stars in the music industry. He's called Falz the Bad Guy. As you know, he's also the son of our Fury legal luminary Femi Falana. So it's actually, the Falz is for Falana there. Okay, let's look at some other newspapers this morning before us on our table right here. We have, let's look at this morning's Nation newspapers. The Nation here has a story from Nigeria's president addressing the workers directly. It says here, Tinubu assures of better deal as workers make 20 demands, 20 good demands. And he's assuring the workers of a better deal. He says here, there's a writer, minister lists 13 pro-worker interventionist programs. So there are 13 interventionist programs, but there are 20 demands. Are the interventions part of the demands? We'll find out in the course of our discussion, so we'll come to that. But let me give you all other stories on the front page of the Nation. Minister, ICPC, open probe into students' loan violations. Vice Chancellors summoned. We have other stories here. Inside the newspaper, we're on pages 4 and 5. Edo raises minimum wage from 70,000 to 75,000 naira. Ebonyi gives workers 10,000 naira May Day reward. Abia, we've paid 30 billion naira to clear inherited salaries and pensions. The picture story there you want to check out. Then at the top of the masthead, it says Saudi to slam heavy fines on illegal pilgrims and tour operators. That's another story of shame. You can imagine hiding under the cloak of religion, claiming to be going on holy pilgrimage. You're going out to Saudi Arabia to perform a holy pilgrimage, Hajj, so that when you come back, we'll be greeting you Al-Hajj and Al-Hajjah. Meanwhile, you're an illegal pilgrim. You go and make an illegal tour operation and go in there. This is how Nigerians keep disgracing us, because at the end, they're now caught for drug trafficking. No wonder. You're an illegal pilgrim. You're the one that will now go into drug trafficking, smearing the name of the country and hiding under religion. Shameful indeed. Well, I think Saudi Arabia is totally correct. Slam heavy fines on them. Collect that illegal money. They went there to do all sorts of illegal business. Collect that money from them. Send them back in disgrace. Maybe they will repent. This is even where we should be talking of repenting. Kudos to the government of Saudi Arabia. Slam those heavy fines. Anybody doing that deserves lots of punishment. And Northeast governors unite to end out-of-school children and insurgency. Good one there. High time, beyond high time. It's on news page 2. Reps lift victims of attacked plateau communities with 100 million naira. Oh my goodness. This is just the best news I've read this morning. The House of Representatives have now donated a free will donation of 100 million naira to lift the victims of attacks in plateau communities. Now, if you are a faithful watcher of Kaftan Television, yesterday we brought into the studio live victims. They flew in from Plateau State the day before to be on our program. You were able to see with your own self people whose eyes were gouged out, people who had their limbs cut off, people who were caught in the attack, unprovoked attacks. They were attacked in their homes in the evening when they were going to bed. We couldn't bring in the baby. She was right in our premises here. She could barely walk, burns all over her body, because as they were lying in bed to sleep, their house was set on fire. And now the House of Representatives, as an arm of government, has stepped up to the plate and gone in to help these victims. I mean, by the time somebody cuts off your right arm as a man, what are you going to do? How do you look after your family? So this is the best news today. May I say God bless the House of Representatives. Thank you for that. There we have, okay, if you notice, oh my goodness, just take a look at what's on the screen now. Those are the victims. The person coming out of that car was in her house when the door was broken open, and then they were about to hit her on the head, like cut off her head. So she lifted her arm to protect herself. They sliced off her hand. It's so pathetic. It's even hard to watch. That little girl there is covered. That's her mother. Her mother is undergoing pains of burn marks to even look after the child and bring her out. Covered completely in burns. Those are the ones who escaped. She lost her husband. Her husband died. Another brother died. That's the girl there. It's so pathetic. It's hard to even watch. You know, they were here with us yesterday, and I mean, it's such a sorry story. You know, they were with us. They came into the studio live. They talked about their ordeal, and it is so it's unbelievable. An unprovoked attack. In fact, the presenter had to ask, would you have any known enemies, or was any quarrel? Did the community quarrel with any other community? Nothing of the sort. And here, instead of sending soldiers over to these Bokos or to Plateau, we will find all the soldiers now deployed to Kazina, where the president is going on a visit. You will see the pictures later on. All the army, police, they are now in Kazina, leaving these ones being decimated every day. Well, thank you, House of Representatives, for that good gesture. 100 million naira, I'm sure, will go some way to alleviate the pains. Those who have lost loved ones, those ones are gone, but we just hope this money will help those surviving. Because, I mean, with your right hand cut off, with your eye gouged out, you know, you're just living. Just surviving and barely living. I think that's a wonderful gesture indeed. Okay. Can I just take one more paper and then I'll take a breather? Let's just look at the front cover of this morning's Vanguard newspaper. Vanguard this morning is still leading with their Mayday stories. It says here, Mayday, hunger, unemployment, insecurity real. So says Tinubu. The story is on page 5. Let's get to the writers. Vanguard. Okay, here are the writers. Promises to address challenges, strengthen labor protections. Labor calls for an end to bloodletting, state tyranny, poverty wages. Hands government 20-point demand. Seeks justice, pro-people economic reform, democratic accountability. Federal government must recognize workers as key partners. Atiku. PDP blames APC for workers' hardship and insecurity. That's on page 9. Okay, the picture story there once again. Labour leaders and minister at Mayday rally in Abuja. We'll be bringing you some of the clips as well. Mayday rally in Port Harcourt. Okay, there are many picture stories of different areas. Like we told you, in Port Harcourt, the rally didn't really hold. They had to go to the Labour Secretariat because they were directed not to go to any of the state facilities because as at then they are even still under emergency rule with a sole administrator. In Lagos, we have some ladies there carrying their flags. Nigerian Union of Journalists, NUJ, Lagos State Chapter. Okay, nice one. Let's go to some other stories beyond labor now on the front cover of this morning's Vanguard. You see here, defections, all corrupt public officials will face justice. EFCC. Nice. Aguiyi begins Delta PDP revival. It's on page 12. Sexual harassment saga, Natasha damns Akpabio's lawyer in new letter. It's on page 8. Governors, organized labor differ over hardship. We recognize immense struggles you endure daily, PDP governors tell their workers. Day of Tributes, Clark was spokesperson for marginalized Nigerians. It's on page 10. And who said this? Daniel, Talen, Eva, and others. Pick up this morning's Vanguard to find out what they are saying with the usual Mr. and Mrs. cartoon caption at the bottom. And another sports story here. Under 20 AFCON, the Flying Eagles begin with a slim win over Tunisia. That's really good to know because the Flying Eagles left, like I said, no camping, no training. Well, they've won. Even if it's a slim win, it's a win. So they won in their opening match over Tunisia. So it's on that sporting note this morning On that sporting note, I'm going to ask you to let me take a breather. When I come back, I'll be introducing our guest in the building. And when I come back, we're diving straight into our discussion segment. We want to know, are Nigerian workers who join the rest of the world to celebrate the day, are they faring any better as the days of May Day continue? We're expecting to be joined by a Labour leader. So what you do is stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Some say Nigeria's 26-year political sojourn, now in its fourth republic, is a story of a navigator exploring a particularly difficult terrain. Can the nation scale the hurdles ahead, or will the headwinds be too much? Join me, Segun Ojelade, as I ask the difficult questions, moderate uncensored debates, razor-sharp analysis, and unveil the truth shaping our democracy on the program Politics 004, showing KAFTAN TV. Politics 004, Policy and Politics. Join us.
Very welcome back. If you were with us, if you are just joining us, you are very welcome. It's a press this morning on Kaftan Television, reaching you live from our studios in Abuja, FCT. Like I promised you today, we are being joined by two very erudite gentlemen. In the studio right with me today is Ambassador Clem Aguiyi. Ambassador Clem Aguiyi is a principal partner of his law firm. Ambassador, you are very welcome this morning. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me in your studio.
You are very welcome. And right beside me, like I promised you, is a labor leader. We're talking about Comrade Gbenga Olowoyo. He is the Acting General Secretary of the Nigeria Civil Service Union. Comrade, this is your first visit to Kaftan Television. Thank you for gracing us on this program this morning. You're welcome.
I'm happy to be around, and I want to welcome all the viewers at home, and I wish us well.
Right, you are very, very welcome. Well, as you know, it might be the second day of May, but our focus is going to be on May Day, which is the 1st of May. Some people call it May Day, some people call it Labor Day, some people call it Workers' Day. Wherever you are, we're all referring to the same thing, a day set aside by the whole world to commemorate workers, those who go to work in some establishment, a private sector, in the organized labor, in the government, civil service, anybody who has what we would call a paid job. So that day is set aside to commemorate the struggle, how it started for workers. Some started as slaves or were getting slave wages. In the course of time, there was some sense of organization, timing, a time frame. You work from such and such hours to such and such hours. This will be the time for a week. There should be a minimum salary paid, so what is called minimum wage. All these were sorted out in the course of time so that labor and the employers will have a smooth interaction. Yesterday, as we all know, usually in Nigeria, we have parades, we have, different unions, all the different segments like TUC, NLC, PENGASAM, the like, will all come out and parade in the different states, probably in the stadium, or like in Abuja, it was at the Eagle Square. The one of Abuja was graced by many dignitaries. In fact, there was the Minister of Labor himself. He came in his capacity as representative of the president. He was representing President Tinubu. And on your screen, you see the Minister of State. That was the lady talking, Kiruka Onyejioka. She came not only in her capacity as the Minister of State for Labor, but also now representing the minister himself, who was representing the president. So there you see colorful. Oh, there we have the NLC president. He's being flanked in that photograph by the newly sworn in or newly re-elected TUC chairman. We have the NLC. That's the TUC. That's TUC talking now. He just spoke after the NLC chairman spoke. Flanked by all around him are other association leaders. So this will just give you an overview of what happened at the Eagle Square in Abuja, which was replicated in other states of the country. So let me just start with you, comrade, before we ask you what your 20-point demands were, okay, which after our legal luminary will now let us know how, these demands can actually be broken down. Just to give us an overview of yesterday's ceremony and some of the highlights and the high points.
Well, once again, I want to say good morning to our viewers at home. And as a matter of fact, when we talk about International Workers' Day, has been celebrated all over the world. Yes. The origin and what brought about the celebration was as a result of the market struggle in 1886. Where workers were actually agitating for 8 hours working day. And it was a normal agitation, a normal advocacy. But the government of the day then thought that what workers were asking for was abnormal. And in the process, they drafted security operatives to disperse them, and crisis ensued. And in the process, some security died, their workers died, they arrested some workers, sentenced them to death, and you can imagine, they were trying to silence the voiceless or the voice. But look at it today, it became an issue that is being celebrated all over the world.
Right.
That's to let you know that when workers ask for something, you don't need to silence them. That request might have been predicated on what we call the scientific research that will actually bring about issues that will assist government and equally assist the populace. But when you look at it today, the reverse is the case. And the Workers' Day we are celebrating is a day that has been set aside to ensure that our voices are heard.
Right. Can you just tell us a bit more about the one in Nigeria? When did we in Nigeria actually get ourselves into like an organized setting such that we could now start celebrating?
When you look at Nigeria's experience in terms of trade union movement, it's going to take much of our time.
No, you can just tell us.
But basically, when you look at it, the emergence of trade union movement in Nigeria started with Nigeria Civil Service Union.
Okay.
Although before that time there have been disorganized arrangements, but the one that happened when it was well organized was when Nigeria Civil Service Union was created.
Okay.
That is in August 1912. And that's why they call it mothers of all unions. And from that point, other unions started emerging.
Yes.
You know, we have NUT, we have Nigerian Workers Union, which was led by our number one labor leader, Modu. You know, it was one that led that, and that one, you know, was spearheaded by him when we have the first national strike in Nigeria in 1945. But what we are saying is that the real labor organization started the labor ordinance of 1938, where and when Nigerian unions were started springing up and being regulated by what we call the law of before Nigeria got independence.
Yes.
But at the same time, when you look at it from that angle, then the issue of salary, wages, and when you look at the issue of civil public service in Nigeria, where we started having a white collar job, these are issues that surround the system, to the extent of now looking at it from an angle of agitating and forming unions. Yes. But at the same time, like I told you, Nigeria Civil Service Union spearheaded it. That's why we call it Nigeria first mother of all trade unions in Nigeria. Yes. Then we have medical networkers, we have NUT, we have many of them like that.
Right. Thank you very much. Let's have a legal angle to it. So, what's the legal? Let's have a legal look at it. Now, these organizations have been formed, and the unions and all of them formed. Right? Is there do they have that legitimate right to keep asking these and these and these and these are the things we want, and this and this and this is the way the government is handling it? Let's look at especially the way the government seems to be some of them almost seem to be should I call it proscribed sometimes when they ask for their demands. What are the legal twists and implications of actions like that taken by a government or an institution?
First of all, let me congratulate the Nigerian Labour Union and Nigerian workers for their contributions over the years in making the country strong, despite all the challenges, despite all their travels they have gone through. I commend them, and it's something to share about, that this year they were able to gather and also mark the Nigerian the Workers' Day like their colleagues around the world. Of course, the right to for association is guaranteed in the Nigerian Constitution, that people can associate and also associate for their own welfare. And also the statutory rights of the Nigerian Constitution emphasized that people who are in employment have rights to be taken care of for their health, for their wages, and their welfare. So it is a constitutional issue that is granted by the Constitution. It doesn't matter what their demands are, whether the government is able to meet with it, and whether the government is not able to meet with it. Collective bargaining by workers is something that also is recognized by the international laws, that workers can always come together,
yes,
make their demands, and for their own improvement and for their own welfare.
right.
And I don't think Nigerian workers have been fairly treated by the system.
Right. You don't think that Nigerian workers have been fairly treated by the system? And I know if we're to ask our comrade, he will let us know exactly how unfairly they've been treated. So if you're just joining in, our focus today is on the plight of Nigerian workers, with special focus on the May Day. But we are saying here, beyond May Day, what is the plight really for Nigerian workers? So please just concentrate, and you will find we are focusing today on Nigerian workers. So he's just given us a legal twist to it and let us know that it is within a worker's right to have not only that freedom of association, but to also they're free to let demands, requests, everything be made known in such a way that those are also part of their rights. Okay, comrade, back to you now. I want you, because all the newspapers today indicated to us that 20-point demand was made by Labour. We don't want you to list and catalogue the 20. We don't have time on the program. But can you just tell us, those that are really burning, the biting ones? And then in 5 minutes, you can just give us like the biting ones. Don't tell us all, please.
I think, all right. You see, it's an open secret.
Yes.
That those 20-point agenda are issues that are hot burning. But at the same time, when you look at the economic, the economic situation in the country now,
yes,
workers are the worst hit. Why they are worst hit is that when you look at numbers of dependents of workers, when government official will talk to you and say how many percentage are workers, not knowing that even an average worker has not less than 10 dependents, together with the parents, the in-laws, the children, and other people that you have to take care of. And when you now multiply them by number of workers in Nigeria, then we take not less than 90% of Nigeria population. If you are over 200 millions, then you are more than 185%. Because the remaining percentages are people that are privileged.
Yes, like the political class.
The political class who are making the country.
Okay, so just you hate us.
Yes, I'm giving you a background.
Okay.
I'm only telling you that even the 70,000 minimum wage we are talking about.
70 million.
70,000 minimum wage we are talking about, it has been devalued. That is why we are asking for a review in that particular aspect. Then when you look at the issue of tax law, when you give a worker 70,000 and you are using tax law to take 50,000 from that salary,
right?
Then what is left? That is why we are talking about the government should not look at it. The issue of tax law. Why is he so desperate about it? Why is he desperate about tax law? Instead of you to look at it, we have some state government that gave tax-free window for workers, just for them to get stabilized. Can't federal government do that? That's why we are asking that government should just set aside this issue of tax law and focus on things that can make the Nigerian economy better. Then when you look at the electricity tariff, in fact, it's the worst in the history of Nigeria.
Right, we talked about it in our program just this morning.
It's the worst.
Yes.
When the minister was talking, he said, even said that why can people be putting on their general, what do you call it, fridge, refrigerator and all these things, which means that the many percentage I mentioned earlier are people they think that are in existence in Nigeria. Over 190 million Nigerians are not existing. So that's why we are talking about, they have to remove this issue. In fact, government has to dismantle the cartel that are causing crisis in that electricity sector.
Right.
So when you look at it, then we are talking about transportation. We raise so many those 20 points. Just to it's not a catalogue of points. There are points that if government should address, we give Nigeria Nigerian workers soft landing.
Okay. So one of them, you know, that reoccurred in the news this morning was the issue of you demanding that across board there should be an raise of retirement age from 60 to 65.
Yes, whichever one that comes first, 35 to 40. Yeah, it's normal. Because it's normal. Because when you look at it from the perspective of capital development, government, individual develop themselves through capacity building, and they are adding value to the system. And I want to add a story about Mr. Hay will retire, and if we still ask him to come and spend either by way of contract employment, why shouldn't they allow? Why should the government allow him to go and rest? Because they believe they still have something to tap from him.
Okay. So
the idea of contract employment after retirement, well, if that is the case, let's look at it. Okay, raise it up. Whoever that wants to retire voluntarily before getting to 65 or getting to 40 years can go.
Yes.
But instead of government now blocking others from going, when after retirement, you say that they should come and do a contract employment, and although by that time some people of office that will be removed from their salary payment package, so salary packages.
Yes.
So what am I trying to say now is that, and all these requests we have taken before government are things that were not just on the face value.
Yes.
They have been evaluated and come to realize that they are very genuine requests.
Okay. Ambassador, please, I just want you also to throw in on the, let me not just say the legality, but the practicality of it. Because here we have a teeming youth population. We have an army of unemployed Nigerian youths who are just being recruited all the time by these terrorist groups because they're roaming around doing nothing. And then on the other hand of it, we have Labour asking for retirement age to be lifted from 60 to 65. How do you think that will impact on, the Nigerian populace? What do you think, especially about our demographic, which is a largely youth population?
Yeah, thank you very much. Actually, we have a very huge youth population in Nigeria, and these youths also have a right to be employed. But unfortunately, these are youths who have pushed through a kind of education that when they come out, they only have certificates without a skill. Another mistake we make is also always thinking that when we talk about workers, we talk about people that are in government employment. Workers are not just people in government employment.
Right.
The private sector workers are also workers. The self-employed workers that are working in the farm that cannot go to their farm are also workers, contributing to our GDP, contributing to our economy. All of them need to have their welfare taken into consideration. And this is legitimate, this is legal, because every Nigerian, every individual have a right of sustenance, have a right to live, have a right to put food on their table, have a right to access medical aid. It's unfortunate that as I speak to you, more than 89 million Nigerians are living below poverty level. And this shouldn't be so. For a country that is so blessed with resources, and yet those resources cannot impact on the life of the people. So when we want to look at all these things, the workers' demands, I have looked at their 20 demands. Some of them are practicable, some of them are impracticable, but it's then left for the policymakers to look at these things genuinely and look at what is acceptable. Just like he said, there are people who have gotten to the age of retirement, like the IGP of police.
Right.
But the government said he should continue. We have looked at a situation where you have somebody maybe in a position where the people in power want him to remain there. They increase their retirement age instead of letting them go. So all this is what is inducing the fact that, come on, I am tired. I'm retired but not tired. And if I can still work, why not continue working? And I'll tell you, in some part of Nigeria here, people keep swearing affidavits, changing their age, even when they're 80 years old, they tell you they're 15 years old, just because they want to still remain in employment, because they will still have dependents, and they still have their life to take care of, or they're just trying to attain a particular position that can enable them to also No, not just to retire. To take away from the treasury enough to take care of their retirement.
Oh my goodness.
If we have this streamlined and in a very honest form, people will stop lying about their age, and people will be able to work comfortably, knowing fully well that at the end of the day, I'll put in fact, let me tell you, retirement should be a joy, should be a celebration, that you have been able to clock this year or clock this number of years in service, that you need to now go and rest.
Right.
And if the old workers doesn't give way, how can the new ones come in? And we should not be focusing on even feeding our public sector with people, because this public sector shouldn't be the major areas of employment in the country. Sometimes it's a waste, because if you go to many public institutions run by government, you see workers that doesn't have any schedule.
Right.
And there's no point in
the chief driver, chief head of this, head of that.
There's no schedule. There's nothing that they're doing.
Nothing.
And most of them are not even employed in the areas that the country actually require their services. Most of them, 70% of people under employment in Nigeria are in that administrative sector, not in the engineering, not in maintenance, not in technology, not in medical. We're lacking in those areas.
Yeah, we're lacking, especially medical.
Yeah, so you have people just in administrative areas. These are problems. These problems are not caused by the workers. It's caused by the policy makers.
Right.
So the policy makers in Nigeria need to rethink of the kind of workers we're employing, the kind of education we are providing. Because if you equip our young people that are coming up with skills that can make them self-employed, what are they looking for in public service?
I know. All right, let's have the telephone numbers up on the screen. Right, those are the numbers. So just hit your phone. You can call in. Labor leader here is right in the studio, ready to listen to what you have to say. Our legal luminary is also here in the studio. He will also take whatever angle you have also to offer. So just hit the phone. We're here for you. Like I said, your opinion is most important. We want to know how you feel. We want to have your take. Okay, comrade, it's your turn. I want to ask, because, one of the points that was raised that really touched my psyche was you talking about security, which is the primary aim of government. It shouldn't even be what the labor should be coming to talk about. But since it's so pervasive, I resonated with me that you, at every opportunity you have with these government officials, you talked also about security. So I'm curious, what was their response? What was did they respond to that aspect of your demands, and did they give you a greater sense of being proactive about our insecurity issues?
Well, I want to let you know that all Nigerians are affected by the level of insecurity in Nigeria. And before I talk about that security matter, I want to react to the submission of the legal luminary here that talk about workers being idle at their workplaces. I want to say it's an hypothetical statement, because naturally when you talk about workers not having schedules, not having this, I won't agree with that. It's only if you have your empirical evidences. But all I know is that the system is porous. There's no worker in the employment in the public service of government, in the public service, that doesn't have schedules. They are doing their best.
No, see, what I'm trying to say.
They are doing their best. I'm only reacting to that. They are doing their best, but at the same time, government policy makers, they have their own minuses. No, we are just talking objectively. Yes. We are talking objectively. Not that I'm reacting to a submission, but I'm only letting you, because as the National Secretary of Joint National Public Service Negotiating Council, we interact with the Office of Head of Service very regularly. Right. And we are very, very much aware that when you talk about the schedule of workers, the career progression, the career management in the public service, we are well tailored and well, conversant with that system. That is by the way. Then on the issue of security, you see, as a responsible citizen of this country, we should be concerned. Yes. Do you know why? If you think you are safe, what about your children? I know. What about your for those that have parents, your mother,
right.
What about your brothers and what about your siblings? What about people? What about even your co-workers?
I know.
You see, if you are traveling along a particular road in this country, it's either you go on fasting or you have a special protection that you because even your people at home will not be at rest.
So they see you
arrive. So
and then when you are leaving, it's another. Oh my God.
So the government has lost it all. Government has lost it all. We are talking about unemployment. Is it? You see, the moment our political class have come to realize that they make easy money in politics, they forget about improving the industrial revolution in this country. They even discourage people that want to come to this country to invest. Is that a sign of a good responsible leader? The challenge we have now is because you see our political class make easy money. They make easy money and they make money to prepare ground for their unborn generation of that particular class. And that's why they realize that those that are classless should continue to be their slaves. And most importantly, those people that are now causing crisis in the aspect of insecurity now realize that is it not better to make money from these people? They are going to go to kidnapping. Even the political class still use this unemployed youth and recruit them for thuggery, for easy access to them. You see, until when we are able to tell truth to the government that you have to redesign the policy, industrial policy of this country.
Yes, redesign the industrial
in fact, I always say it at any forum I get to that it is only General Gowon that has that particular capacity to develop what we call a 10-year plan. That was when the government was able to project that within the next 10 years we should be able to get to this point. But these people, what power do they have? Are they even projecting? The only thing they project is how to grab power again. We are a part of this country, but I pray as a patriotic Nigeria, we have to be reasonable and talk in a way that people will not see us. Probably we are trying to incite the public. Yes. But at the same time, our leaders, we must talk to them. True to power. Is it not a misplacement of priority for people to be talking about 2027 by now? We raised 20-point agenda request before government. All they say was to assure that we are going to attend to it. Who are they fooling? Who are they fooling?
Okay.
When the time comes to tell the truth, we say the truth. Right. All those things, protection of lives and properties is constitutionally provided for by lawyer. I think I'm right. So is government doing that? Right. So I want to believe that the issue before us, the issue of insecurity, we must speak loud and clear. Right. We must advocate that government must be responsible. Right. You can't just be applying the fire brigade approach to say, no, you can't do that. I know. There was a rumor that they sack Minister of Defense. The minister they said that they didn't say do that. Who are they fooling? It was a contemplated idea. But for security reasons, they have to back down again. All right. Okay.
Well, there's something you picked that's quite germane, though. You said that you are telling the government to redesign the industrial policy.
That is it.
And that's practically, both of you have both said it on this show this morning. Redesign the industrial policy. You are also saying redesign the policies for labor. Let's just take this call and then we'll continue with that discussion. Good morning. Oh my goodness, network, don't do this. Okay, please do well to call back. We tried to take the call, but we couldn't. Let's see if I'll be second time lucky. Good morning. When you're calling, please turn down the volume on your television set or walk away from your television. Please, we say this all the time. It still applies. You see, there'll be hold back, there'll be talk back and all that. Walk away from your television set, turn down the volume of your television set alternatively, and once you're live, your name, where you're calling from, and your submission. Okay, we were talking about the redesigning of the industrial policy. Let me see if I'll be lucky with the call. Turn down the volume on your television set, sir or ma. Turn down the volume on your television set.
Yes, I'll reach it.
Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Right,
Can you
please.
hear me now?
What's your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Ernest. I'm calling from Bauchi.
Ernest from Bauchi, you gave us very tough time this morning, but finally you're live and you are clear. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No.
Right, go ahead.
I said you can hear me clear now.
Go ahead. We're hearing you and you're live.
So I want to start on the worker salary now. 70,000 naira or 78,000 naira is nothing to write home about. Giving them 70,000 naira, 78,000 naira, at the end of the day, they will collect those money. They will take the money from taxes they put on the workers. You can imagine you going to bank the money. You put your money there, tax will be removed from it. You transfer money, tax will be removed from it. 7,000 naira is nothing to write home about. So the government should at least grant them their request, the amount they are asking for. That is one. Two, the taxes again, you see, they put on these companies, all these production companies. It's affecting the workers too. Because the cheaper if the taxes are put on the companies, the companies will now add their goods, what they are producing. So it will also affect the workers. The taxes are making our naira to be valueless. That is just the truth.
Okay.
Now, security. I saw the picture there. I saw, is it Bokos or where?
Yes, they're from Bokos, in Plateau State.
A lady's son was cut off. You can imagine security.
A lady and a man. We had to cut it short because it was terrible.
We are talking about security. We are talking about 27 election. So please, the government should be telling us the truth. They are not telling us the truth. They are not telling us the truth. Look at what is happening in Borno State now. The Boko Harams have come up again in Borno State. But they are not telling us what is happening in Borno. Instead, maybe to have our friends, soldier friends, they will be telling us, look at what they are facing at Maiduguri. So the government are not telling us the truth. Soldiers are dying. Soldiers are dying here. They are trying their best, but the government are not even helping them. So please, this government should be telling us the truth, because they are not telling us the truth. They are lying to us. So thank you very much. That's my take this one.
Thank you very much. We had that call all the way from Bauchi, also emphasizing, of course, the need of every man is security. Because as if you are not secure, what is the need of collecting, even if it's maximum wage? What are you going to use it for when already your life is at stake? So the emphasis on security, which also the labor unions were emphasizing yesterday, and we want to applaud them for bringing that as one of their requests and demands to the government. It's like you said, not only them, but every Nigerian needs to be secure. Good morning, can you hear me?
Yeah, beautiful morning to you, Mikky. Good morning, comrade. Good morning, barrister. You are on to SND calling from Lagos.
SND, welcome.
Thank you very much. Let me appreciate your guest, and let me quickly appreciate Kaftan TV for giving us this ample opportunity. Let me quickly respond to begin with one proverb in my language which says, but I will not go to the end because I don't want somebody to feel or think otherwise the message is directly to him. The proverb says, if you pay peanut at salary, you will definitely get, I don't want to go to the end. And I think the gentlemen know where I'm heading to.
Monkeys.
So please, I am calling on our policymakers. They should sit down and look at this issue of labor, especially the minimum wage, the welfare, the housing, the security. You know, the cardinal objectives of each and every government is protecting life and security of its citizens. And no matter how big policy government introduce or establish, it cannot work without the workers. So please, I know everybody is representing everybody. It's not everybody is going to be a worker. It's not everybody is going to be a businessman. It's not everybody going to be a doctor. It's not everybody is going to be a barrister. But everybody is representing everybody in its own field of professionalism. So the government should look at these 21 demands and come up with something meaningful, something that will last for long without receiving any issue of labor.
Hello?
Nigeria is too big for this, honestly speaking. Like I always made mention, we have all the potentials. We have all the resources. We have the expertise. So what is wrong with the system? Why can't we at least mitigate the menace in our society? Shall we wait until when it occurs before we begin to take action? Prevention is better than cure. So whenever the government is trying to set up with something, they should look vast into the system. Come up with something meaningful, something that will last for long without any disturbances.
Okay.
At least for the peace of the nation.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I remain SMD from Lagos.
Thank you, SMD, for that contribution. Yeah, SMD has raised something else that also beats my mind, because if you know that it's taking you so long to pay 70,000 minimum wage, some governors are skirting around it, adding maybe 5,000, that wouldn't even pay your money to the bank to go and do re-verification of your NIN. So, okay, so since it's money that's now the issue, in quotes, because when you are paying politician, you don't look back. So since it's workers' money that's the issue, then the question that comes to my mind is that why don't you then do the other things that the money is to be directed at that is so difficult? For instance, now, if you came in here to work at this television station, say as a youth corps member, your parents live somewhere very far away, so you're going to rent a house. The tiniest little house you're going to rent is going to cost you 2 million naira. 2 million for a youth corps member, because you're paying annually. You're going to pay annually, but you're going to earn monthly. And it's just last month, about December, that the money was increased to this minimum wage too, about 77,000 naira, thereabout. So that being the case, this is what governments should do, I would suggest, is to then take off housing of the workers. Take off housing. As you're giving them the employment letter, you're giving them the place to stay. And our parents told us that was what was happening before. My father told me that he got his job in the university. They recruit you in the university. Your employment letter comes with the key to your official quarters. Why aren't they doing this? You know the answer? Because of these greedy governors. Yes, the greedy governors, and the workers really need to address them. Talk to your governors. A governor will come in on seat, sworn in, Your Excellency. That's with this lovely government house to stay, with your house that your pension, they're still going to build all these houses for you. You're still greedy enough to go to what will be the GRA, the beautiful part of the town. You'll buy it all up for peanuts. Pull down all the houses. There are maybe hundreds of housing units which maybe medium level civil servants could live in. You knock them all down and build these wonderful houses, beautiful houses, and put all your relatives, extensions, your political cronies and those kind of things, forgetting that the workers have nowhere to stay. So the workers now who cannot afford these high costing houses stay in the suburbs, and you do nothing then about transport. So you come all the way from the suburbs into the city centers, maybe Matama and all that, whereas you live very far in Inyanya. You live in a very far distant place. You come all the way from Inyanya, all the way to Mitama to do your work, travel all the way back at your expense to go to a little house that you can afford. Whereas at your level, you shouldn't be living in a little house. You should be living in a medium-sized house. But the greedy governors have taken that all over. I'd like to know, Ambassador, tell me your own experience. Like you were a former local government transition chairman. Tell us your experience and what you noticed and how the workers were faring at that time.
Yeah, well, without going back to issues.
Right.
When I made the statement I made.
Right.
I made from experience.
Right.
Because I've handled executive power.
Right.
And I've had people under me that I was responsible for. And I knew that the workforce were explosive and exaggerated. And actually, some of the workers that I had under me, I don't need them because they were not productive. The areas I needed them, maybe for road maintenance, maybe for agriculture, maybe for health, I don't have them. Maybe in the education sector where I needed teachers, I don't have them. But I have people in the administrative areas, in hundreds, whom I believe are not doing enough. So I believe in government efficiency. I wish we can have a Department of Government Efficiency in Nigeria to look at the entire structure of government, because some agencies of government are redundant, shouldn't have been created, because they were created for political reasons and patronage, and the government money being paid. And we said that is not the fault of the workers. Like I said. It's the fault of the policymakers.
Right.
And that is why I said the policymakers should take a hard look on Nigeria policies and workers and employment, and employ what you can pay. Because like the callers have said here, what is 70,000 naira in today's Nigeria?
It can buy a bag of rice.
Because the moment you took away the petroleum subsidy,
yes,
the moment you took away the petroleum subsidy, and devalued the naira became worthless. Even if you are paying workers 100,000 naira today, it cannot even afford a pot of soup. Because I go to market myself. Right. A pot of soup now cannot cost you less than 40,000 naira to make a pot of soup. And they had a minister telling you, you cannot put, why are you putting on your fridge? How do you preserve the food that you have cooked to be able to last maybe for a week for you? The cost of transportation is very high. These things are being transferred on the people. And you talk about electric tariff. If you are living in a 2-bedroom house, the minimum you can pay in a month for electricity is about 40,000 to 50,000 naira, plus the fraud they call band A. And how did we get to this point? We got to this point because they moved the oil petroleum cabals that they used to pay subsidy to the electricity. And what they do there is that they issue licenses to their friends and cronies to supply gas. And meanwhile, you do not have the facility to store these gases. So they have a take it or leave it contract. So every month, these people that you have given license, contract to supply you with gas will come to you and say, these are my invoice. I have maybe 60 or 1,000 cubic of gas to supply you. Yes. And the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission will tell you, I do not have facility to store what you are bringing. Well, you don't have the facility to store it. Thank you very much. It's not my business. I have produced, and you must pay me. Yeah. And meanwhile, I will tell you, nothing is being produced. But they'll come with an invoice. That is what is going on. So we are paying for what we are not even consuming. And that's a fraud. And the government knows this, because it is the same Ministry of Power, it is the same government that issue these licenses, even when they know that already the ones you have, you cannot pay. They issue more to their friends. So if you go to that commission today, you see the number of people who have licenses to supply you with electricity, and you see what you have allocated to them to supply. And meanwhile, you do not have this infrastructure. You don't have the storage facility.
So what's the solution to that?
The solution about that is this. We must have to be able to purge our system of corruption.
Purge the system of corruption.
Yeah, we have to be able to do that, because all these things are pure corruption. Right. Even if you go to the insecurity that you talked about, it's a shame that Nigeria, for the past 14 years, is battling with insecurity.
It's a pity. The same area, right? Even the same area. All right, so let's
talk about this.
No, we don't have time. We don't have 3 more minutes on the program.
We really need to have time to talk about this. The government need to hear about these issues, because they are the problem.
Right. The people in government, you are the problem, and we need to look at the issue of redesigning the policies. Okay, comrade, let me have your last line on it, especially in the area, like I said, like he was pointing out, naira is so devalued that even if they were to give you 100,000 naira, it wouldn't even scratch a bit of your expenses. So what do you think of my proposal, which is that, okay, then government pick up the expenses. For instance, housing. Give us the house we are going to live in to come to this work. The same way you give your own self house, give us the houses. Because how can you be earning a monthly salary and be paying annual rent? You're not a thief. So what is labor? Why will labor get solution to that? With 3 minutes.
Yes, we have said it's an issue.
Yes.
If government is very sincere and very forward-looking,
yes,
most of these problems will not emanate. You see, when you, like I told you, the political class do not see us as human beings. They see us as slaves, and they don't want us to be comfortable. They don't want us to live well, so that they can continue to exploit us. You know, when you are staff of something, you can easily be cajoled and you cave in, you be gullible into all things, and that is the mindset of the politicians, political class. Like I told you, and the listeners at home and viewers, the issue of workers have been taken to the lowest ebb. The wage award that was to be paid before the payment of minimum wage has not been completed. The harmonization of salary 35% have been lowered down. The 40% peculiar allowance that was approved by former President Buhari, Accountant General of the Federation decided on his own to cost. You know, these are issues that are designed to ensure that workers are caged, so that whatever they want us to do, they just tell us to do it, and they know we don't have capacity to challenge them in terms of the financial capacity. Yes. So what am I saying essentially is that the idea of saying provide housing facility, provide transportation facility, they know they should provide all this, that they will not be able to manipulate us. And that is why we are not taking it lie low. We have advocated severally, and we are still saying it. Even the federal mortgage bank that are supposed to provide these facilities, are they doing well? We have engaged there as different fora. I only want government to realize that most of even as a leader, there's always a time for you. Right. Sooner or later, either you spend 100 years as a political class, you will retire. Then you become a mystery. I refer to General Gowon just now. Yes. So what am I saying is that I think government should be responsible, should be responsive, and should have conscience. Right. Government should be responsive. Government should have conscience. That is the last line. Our leaders lack conscience. That is the problem. Comrade Gbenga Olowoyo, thank you very, very much for being our guest today. Thank you. Ambassador Clem, Aguiyi, thank you very much for being our guest today. That's as much as we can take this beautiful day in May. It's been a robust conversation indeed, talking about the plight of Nigerian workers, which, as you can see, is not rosy at all and needs to be improved. The welfare of workers needs to be touched upon. The salaries, everything should be a wholesome package. So we use this opportunity to appeal to the government to look into those 20-point demands of the workers. Those that are realizable should be implemented at once. That's as much as I can say. The time has totally run out on us. I'm Mikky Attah, thanking you for your time. Stay on with KAFTAN Television for the rest of our programs. Thank you.